Welcome back for a new top 5 list, and winner of the poll is the PSP. So, with that said, music of choice today comes from Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep. Now, it would not be on this list because, at least on PSP tiles go, Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep was actually pretty successful. One of the best selling games on. So, with that said, first up, two honorable mentions. Expect there to be a few Square Enix games here. First up, unfortunately, sadly, do not have complete in box, just have one of my extras. First up of the two honorable mentions goes to Third Birthday, the third installment in the Parasite Eve series, though for some reason it's just called Third Birthday. It remains to this day a PSP exclusive. It has not been re-released by Sony or anything. So, I hope eventually they do decide, even if it's just digital, re-release this on current platforms, maybe upscale HD. But for a PSP game, this actually is a very still good looking game, I think, graphically. It could challenge, in my opinion, late PS2, early PS3 era, graphically speaking. It is an interesting, very different than previous Parasite Eve games. Still, it is good, and it nowadays is starting to get a price increase slowly. If you want loose nowadays, this thing is going for about like $40 and up. Complete good luck. But still, nevertheless, doesn't change the fact it's a legit, really fun third-person shooter action game. Though it's nothing like the previous two Parasite games, still, it's interesting for us, and I do consider it a must-try. Definitely for PSP collectors out there. Next up of the two honorable mentions, Lord of Arcane. Not a super expensive game by any means to collect for on the PSP, done by also Square Enix. This is a game I definitely recommend more people try. If you want an idea of how this plays, it reminds me a little bit gameplay-wise of like God Eater Burst, which was definitely more successful, or I guess you could say also sort of like a Monster Hunter-like game. Though it definitely has a pretty high difficulty curve, just know. But if you like monster hunting games like Monster Hunter or God Eater, check this out actually. It's definitely different, to be honest, but prepare for a very high difficulty spike. Coming at number 5 is one of only two Japanese imports actually on here. The first of which sadly never got an American release on the PSP, and that is Final Fantasy Type 0. Now, for me, Type 0 is superb, even if you have to use fan translations. Still, it actually had, weirdly enough, at one time a online functionality for the PSP. Obviously, it can't do now, and for some reason, the console version of the game never received this treatment either, which sucks. And yeah, like you see there, this is the only PSP game like it I actually own, and that is, it is actually a 2-disc PSP game, which is pretty cool in my opinion. I can't think of really any other PSP games I know if that was on 2 UMDs. Graphically, this game really is on par with like early PS3 games. It looks absurdly good on the PSP, even more so on the smaller screen. Definitely, if you've never tried Type 0 and you're curious about an interesting handheld experience RPG, maybe give this a shot. Import from Japan or a US seller if you can find one. This game is actually a really cool, unique experience on the PSP compared to many others. Coming in at number 4 goes to, from Sega Games, Phantasy Star Portable. If you are a big fan of the Phantasy Star series, I do highly recommend giving this game a shot. It is still relatively affordable for an RPG on the PSP. It is also, in my opinion, easily one of the best games that Sega released on the console. In my opinion, it's probably in their top 3 best Sega games on the PSP. If you are a longtime fan of Phantasy Star, or in general just a fan of solid, good RPG experiences on handhelds, for instance, this is a must-try. If you can get it, I do highly recommend. You can easily get probably 40 plus hours of gameplay out of this, no problem at all. It's definitely a must-try, and I do think it's criminally underrated of great RPGs. Number 3 goes to Mega Man Maverick Hunter X, which, of course, is a 3D remake of my number 1 favorite Mega Man game of all time. Unfortunately, Maverick Hunter X did not sell super well, though it is a perfect recreation from the ground up, just in 3D, but literally it plays just as good as the original 2D game. To me, this is how you do a remake. Being completely 100% loyal to the original classic. If you've never actually tried, heck, any of the Mega Man X games out, this is definitely a good way to try. And this has not received an HD remaster of any kind, which it deserves. But seriously, if you get a chance, try this. It is a must one if you're a Capcom fan and a Mega Man fan, or in general, a side-scrolling action platformer fan. Definitely something more people need to try. Coming in at number 2 is the other Japanese import. A really cool fighting game that I think more people should give a shot. If you are a fan of the anime series Soul Eater, I do highly recommend this. It has actually some really cool mechanics. I love the special abilities. It is in general a lot of fun. Very loyal to the actual anime itself. If you're looking for a really good anime fighter on the go, I do definitely recommend checking this out. And there's quite a long list of characters you can play as in this from throughout the 2 seasons of the original series. And of course, one of my personal favorites, Death the Kid. With that said, coming in at number 1 in my opinion, criminally underrated. If you're a fan of the Shin Megami Tensei Persona games, I got a experience for you on the PSP, a must-play, Fate Extra. Seriously, if you are a fan of decent difficulty RPG experiences with fun dungeons and fun opponents, this is definitely good for you. If you want a good challenge, but you really like Persona type game, this is perfect for you. As a person that really mostly got into Persona back around Persona, well, specifically the PS2 era, with the original Persona 4, as well as the Digital Devil Saga, are all great. But seriously, if you get a chance, try out some of the Fate series, but this is arguably, in my opinion, personally, my favorite, though I've played only 3 Fate games. Still, this is arguably one of the best RPGs you can play on a handheld, and easily one of the best game experiences on the PSP as a whole. Graphically, it still looks good, I think, for its time, and overall has solid, excellent combat mechanics. With that said, that is my opinion. 5 criminally underrated games for the PSP. But what is your opinion? Have you tried any of these out? If not, I do highly recommend giving them a shot. I'll see y'all next time. Stay safe out there.